Hey, it's Chris with Acting Creative, and this is a Handwoven Experience. In today's episode, I'm going to bring you the Weaving Shuttle compilation. If you were to put a group of weavers in a room together and you ask them all, what is the most fun, sexiest tool that a weaver works with? Hands down, the answer would be the weaving shuttle. Shuttles are amazing because they come in every shape, size, and material. They serve a variety of different functions, and they're just a blast to fling across your warp with every single pick. They're just fun. So in today's very special compilation, I have a collection of previous episodes that all fit under this special weaving shuttle heading. They include things like the world of shuttles, throwing a shuttle, no empty bobbins, and I've included two very special one-shuttle patterns and two-shuttle patterns. So no matter how many shuttles you have in your arsenal at the moment, there is something fun for you. So without further ado, please enjoy this weaving shuttle compilation. Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acting Creative, and this is a Handwoven Experience, episode 29. In this episode, we're going to visit the world of shuttles. See, when you think of weaving, you first think of the loom, but right on the heels of that, you think of the shuttle, that little piece that's flying back and forth, delivering the weft into the project. But there's more than one kind, so I thought we would do a little trip through the world of shuttles, starting with the stick shuttle. This is the least expensive, simplest version of a shuttle you can find. And I love having one of these around. I use it in my case to add like an accent yarn to a project. If I don't need a lot of it, I don't want to wind a whole bobbin, this is a great place to start to deliver the yarn back and forth, just for a little bit though. Stick shuttle. Next on the list is the boat shuttle. I use a boat shuttle more than any other kind of shuttle. It has a bobbin that goes with, a little plastic bobbin. Here's how it works. This little piece lifts up, a little metal piece, bobbin slides right on, clicks right in. You want to take the end of the yarn and pull it through the little slot here, just to keep it from getting tangled at the ends, which it will if you forget to put it through the slot. And I want to make one quick note here when you're shopping for shuttles, boat shuttles, is that this particular one is considered a 13-inch, which you measure it from end to end. Seems logical, right? Here's where it gets a little tricky, is that when you are shopping for the bobbins to go with, the bobbin length you measure from the inside, from there to there. So this is considered a 5-inch bobbin that goes in the 13-inch shuttle. You don't measure from end to end in this case. It's just the spot where the yarn goes. So just a note as you're shopping for boat shuttles and bobbins. Boat shuttles come in typically about 3 different sizes. So kind of think about which one is going to fit your hand the best, how much yarn you want to have in the bobbin. Just consider that. Next up is the rug shuttle. I use this one a lot too, mostly because I tend to work with multiple yarns, and it's very convenient to be able to wind them all on directly to the shuttle. See, it's not very tall, it's solid throughout the body. This is the rug shuttle. I use this a lot when I'm doing kind of heavier fabrics and I'm playing with lots of colors. I love this one. Next up, the ski shuttle. Check that out. Looks like a ski, right? Just the shape of it. It's solid throughout the whole body here. You can see where the yarn is. Again, this is another one where the yarn is wound directly onto the shuttle. A very nice option though. Not too tall. I like this one. And lastly, and this one, I'll be honest, I bought by accident, because sometimes that happens. This is a rag shuttle. And this one you would use as you're making like rag rugs, that kind of idea. But the idea is that you wouldn't necessarily use this to wind yarn around, but strips of fabric. It's nice and tall. got a lot of space for your fabric to go around, and if you're really into rug weaving, ooh yeah, this is a great one to do. Rag rugs, it's perfect for that. So that gave you a quick blitz around the world of shuttles. There's something for everybody, no matter what kind of weaving you want to do or what kind of shuttle you are comfortable with. So hopefully you learned a little something new today. In the meantime, have a great week, my friends, and happy weaving. Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acton Creative, and this is a Handwoven Experience. And in this episode, I'm taking it way back to the basics, and I'm going to talk about throwing a shuttle. Now, if you're a beginner who has just purchased a loom, you may be like, okay, now what? What do I do with this? Well, throwing a shuttle is a core element in the whole process, and you have to do it over and over and over again, thousands and thousands of times to create your gorgeous fabric. So your job as you're just starting out is to discover what technique works best for you. So my job today is to give you just a few little tidbits of information so that can help you on your way as you're unearthing your personal style for how you want to throw a shuttle, because you're going to need to do it a lot. Your job is to find a method that is comfortable, that is easy, that is fun, and you can do consistently. So let's get to it, shall we? Here I have two different styles of shuttles that we're going to talk about today. The first one, this is called a rug shuttle, and you will see that my weft yarns are wound directly onto it. It's the same kind of style as a stick shuttle, a rag shuttle, a ski shuttle. They all function this same way, where the weft is wound directly onto the shuttle. Now, I also have what's called a boat shuttle, which kind of looks like a canoe, right? Look at that nice shape. And with a boat shuttle, the charm of this is that there's a little bobbin that slides in, and the bobbin holds, you see it from there, the bobbin holds the weft just like that. So as you can imagine, because they function differently, the boat shuttle then is going to automatically release the weft as we go, whereas this style, the rug shuttle, is not. So there's a couple things to watch with each of those. So let's talk about the actual process of throwing a shuttle back and forth, back and forth. Now, when you are weaving, you can see here I'm sitting at the front of the loom. Here are my warp yarns, my beater bar, my shafts. Here's your orientation. So as you are getting ready to throw a shuttle, you have to separate your warp yarns, right? So I've got some that are up and some that are down per whatever pattern I am working on. And my job then is to slide this shuttle from one side to the other evenly and clearly, so that I'm not jumping through any of the warp yarns, right? Now, for me, I tend to think that you don't have to be aggressive about it, that it can just slide along. This whole bottom row kind of acts as a little kind of skating rink, and your shuttle should just kind of, slip slide from one side to the other, just like that. I don't think you have to be aggressive or fling it through the air. No. You could just use these yarns down here to support your shuttle as you go from one side to the other, right? And did you hear it? It kind of unraveled as I pulled it away from the fabric so that you have enough kind of lead for the next time. Now, let's talk about our other shuttle here. Like I said, this has the weft yarns wound directly on. And this you have to pay a little more attention because you need to make sure you have enough inches here so that your shuttle is going to go from, it's going to clear it. It's going to go from one side to the other. So let me just show you what that looks like if it doesn't. I'll choke it up just a little bit. So let's say I only have that many inches, and I'm going to send it through like this, and it gets stuck. Like I don't have enough inches. It's pulling over here. It's not going to make it through the whole kind of tunnel that we've created, the shed space we've created. So that's one of the things to kind of watch for with this style of loom, is to make sure that you're always giving yourself plenty of inches so that you can safely move from one side to the other. Just like that. Now, let's talk about, with the motion of throwing the shuttle back and forth, your edges, because that's something you're always kind of watching for, right? Is how are you keeping the edges of your fabric consistent? Now, there's a couple schools of thought here. I'll show you my version, and then we'll talk about the other option. And you can play with both. Find what you like, because in my opinion, there's no wrong way as long as you are weaving. That is really the important part here. So, I'll show you kind of how I tackle this. I like to take the shuttle in one hand. Like I said, I've separated my warp yarns. I'm going to send it through, and I like to catch it with my index finger. Have a little loop here and place it just like that. You don't want to pull so it's real tight, and you also don't need to be particularly loose. You can kind of find that sweet spot where you just place it where you want, pull the beater bar, off you go. However, the other school of thought is that you don't get your fingers involved at all. So you take your shuttle like this, you put it in, and the idea is you want to create like a 45-degree angle from this spot here to where it kind of goes off the fabric. And without using your fingers then, pulling the beater bar forward, and that will kind of give the yarn enough space to fall into place where you want it to. So those are two techniques that you can try to see what you like better. And like I said, for me, there's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of what technique feels good, is comfortable, you enjoy, and you can do over and over and over again. Now, something I wanted to point out is that as you are weaving along, the shed space is going to get kind of smaller and smaller, because here I have, I don't know, probably 8 inches left. But imagine if you're going right up to the last little bit and you only have a few inches here. Sometimes the shed space isn't so clean. It can get a little messy. It's a little treacherous then for your shuttle to go from side to side. Here's what I'd like to suggest, is that if you feel like you have trouble with your warp yarns are sagging, for whatever reason, you feel like you don't have a lot of space here to work with, instead of taking your shuttle straight across like this, just give the nose a little tip down, a little tip, because you don't want your yarns to go flying through the bottom, and you also don't want them to go up through the top. So if you have any kind of stragglers in there, or your shed space isn't quite as clean as you want it to be, instead of going straight across, just give the nose just a little tiny tip down, and that will kind of keep the top ones up, and your shuttle will go kind of below them, right? So just give it a little, just like that, easy, easy peasy. Now, if that is the case too, one of the better answers, honestly, is to just forward your fabric. If you get to a point where you feel like you might be skipping over some warp yarns, just forward your fabric so you give yourself a better shed space from there. So that's what I've got for you, my friend. Those are my thoughts on throwing a shuttle. And for an experienced weaver, we just kind of take it for granted because we've done it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. But if you're just starting out, it can feel really awkward. You're like, what am I looking for? What goes where? I don't know how this is supposed to go. So take your time, try a couple different techniques for you, find what you like, what is comfortable, and what you can do over and over and over and over and over again. Go from there. All right, my friend, have a wonderful week. Happy weaving. Hey, it's Chris with Acton Creative, and this is a Handwoven Experience, episode 59. So you're weaving along, and things are going great, except all of a sudden, you are out of weft yarn. Your bobbin is completely empty. Now, of course, you can manually wind a bobbin. That is no problem. But if you haven't already tried one, I highly recommend a bobbin winder. It can be a game changer. So let me show you mine. I have a shacked manual bobbin winder. Pretty straightforward. I've got this little piece here that spins like this, which turns this piece. This is where your bobbin will go. And it has a nice little kind of clamp feature here to attach it to a work surface. It's pretty nifty. So let me show you the actual process for winding a bobbin using one of these. All right. First of all, I'm going to tilt you just a little bit so you can see. There we go. All right. So I like to just use my weaving bench. It's right here. I could go find a table, of course, but it seems to be pretty convenient that I can just attach it right here, wind my bobbin, and get back to it. So like I mentioned, the bobbin winder has a place down here where you can clamp. It has like a textured surface here. So what I like to do is use some kind of a soft cloth just to protect the wood from that kind of grippy part. So I'm going to slide it on here onto my bench, spin this around and give this a tighten. Come on. It helps if you talk to it. All right. That is nice and tight then. Let me turn this so you can see it. So that's how it attaches to any kind of work surface, any table, anything you've got. So I'm going to pop out my bobbin here. It's going to slide on just like that. Find my yarn. This is the color I'm going to use. Now you'll notice that my tube started out as a ½ pound, but I'm probably more than halfway done with it at this point. So it's going to wobble around a lot. Here's kind of my solution. Find some way to stabilize your cone or tube of yarn. I have this big old cylinder. I don't remember where I found it or if there was actually yarn on it at one point, but I've used it forever. It's very heavy duty. It's not going to tip over. So I like to put this on the ground, drop my tube of yarn in there, and then it's not going to wiggle all over the place and I'm not constantly picking it up. So I'm going to put that right below, start with my yarn there, do a little, you just want to kind of catch the end of the yarn there on the bobbin. Then see if I can do it without my sleeve in the way there. I'm going to kind of start to wind it. There we go. Round and around. You want to just make sure that you don't end up with the yarn jumping over one of the ends. You want to keep it in this kind of contained area there. That's where it's going to do the most good for you. And I don't have any kind of real trick here. You just keep winding it on. Once you get to a point where you're happy with how much you have on there, let me find my scissors. Give it a snap, take it off, back into your shuttle, through the little slat, and voila, you are ready to go back at your project. So if you haven't tried a bobbin winder yet, I highly recommend it. If you use a boat shuttle with any kind of consistency, it is worth it to find yourself a manual bobbin winder because it'll keep you weaving much faster than if you're trying to wind it manually. So, all right, my friends, check out those bobbin winders, would you, huh? Have a great week and happy weaving. Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acton Creative, and this is a Handwoven Experience. And in today's episode, well, I'm gonna tell you a story first before we dive into today's episode. You see, many, many moons ago, beginning weaver Chris had just finished her very first project. And I distinctly remember a moment when the teacher looked at me and said, "So, what do you want to do next?" I had no idea. I had no clue what was supposed to come after that. The world of weaving is too big and there's too many choices. So as I reflect back to that moment, I thought, wouldn't it have been handy to have some guidance about weaving patterns, specifically which ones need one shuttle and which ones require two shuttles? So you guessed it. This is the first in a two-part series where I'll be presenting my list of one-shuttle weaving patterns and two-shuttle weaving patterns. So today, let's kick it off with one shuttle. Now, I have listed the weaving patterns kind of from easiest to a little more challenging, but I want to make a note that even the bottom of the list, none of it is crazy hard. None of these I would consider advanced techniques. It's just a matter of more moving parts, maybe a little more challenging threading or treadling or playing with some certain element. I promise you can handle everything on this list. It's just a matter of kind of working your way through them and learning the techniques you need. So without further ado, let's start the list off with, you guessed it, plain weave. Huh? Plain weave is the ultimate one shuttle pattern. You can absolutely, of course, always use more than that, but you don't have to. there's a whole big wide world of options with plain weave. You can play with the materials, you can change up the textures, you can play with color. Please play with color. There's all kinds of great options when it comes to plain weave. So I consider it kind of the king of one-shuttle weaving patterns. Next on my list is hopsack. Now, in a little bit of trivia, hopsack was actually the very first pattern at the very first weave along a number of years ago now. But hopsack is great fun. It has this wonderful geometric look to it. It's easy to do and it weaves up fast. So if you are just starting, hopsack is a great option. Next is bumbaré. Now this is one that I discovered not too long ago, and I have to say, it's a real joy to weave. It's so much fun. It has kind of a similar look to hopsack, but there are little subtle differences too. So definitely keep bumbaré on your list of possible weaving patterns. Next up for us is twill. We absolutely cannot have a list of one-shuttle weaving patterns without talking about twill. Now, as a little asterisk, I'll give you a little spoiler alert. Twill is gonna make the two-shuttle list too. Nice crossover action, right? But when you think of twill, it's this entire world of variations. There's so many options you can do with twill, and so many of them only require one shuttle. Some of my favorites include herringbone and rose path. Woo, so good. So definitely have twill on your list. Honest to God, you could actually just weave twill for like the next 10 years and never get bored, truly. So after twill, I have lace. Now, lace, kind of like twill, is this whole category. There's all kinds of variations of lace that you can play with, and absolutely should. But lace is a wonderful pattern that has these just like planned irregularities in the warp, the weft, or both. It's just really a delightful pattern to play with. So definitely try some lace, friends. You'll love it. Next up for me is waffle weave. Now, if you are someone who wants to weave towels, you absolutely must try waffle weave. It's this wonderful pattern that when washed has this amazing dimension. Talk about the most absorbent of probably any other pattern. Waffle weave is wonderful for that. And it makes those cute little waffles. You have to try some waffle weave for sure. And in the list where we are, we're starting to get to the patterns that have a few more things going on. So maybe don't pick waffle weave for your second project. Maybe that's your third or fourth project. All right, after waffle weave, I have double weave. Now, double weave is lovely and wonderful, and you only need one shuttle to do it. But it does make your brain work for it, that's for sure. Double weave is just what it sounds like. You're able to weave two layers at the same time. What you do with it from there, that's up to you. You can have two layers and have it connected at one side or both sides. You can make tubes, you can make twice the width, you can just make two layers. There's all kinds of options. And double weave is great fun. But I would say maybe not your second project. You can if you're feeling brave, but double weave does require a little more thought process to get the hang of it. But keep it on your list for sure. And lastly, on my list of one-shuttle weaving patterns is crackle. Now, crackle can absolutely be done with two shuttles, and in many cases it is, but it doesn't have to be. Crackle can be done with just one shuttle, back and forth, back and forth. Now, crackle is absolutely a pattern that requires a more complicated threading as you move your yarns through, as you thread them through the shafts, and treadling as you're throwing your shuttle back and forth. You gotta stay sharp when you're doing some crackle, but the effect is really unlike anything else. So definitely keep a crackle in the wish list for down the road. Now, I know that is not all of the patterns that require one shuttle. So tell me, which one have I missed? What have I missed from your list of favorites when it comes to one shuttle weaving patterns? And I've got a little something extra if you would like. You see, I'm a girl that likes to have things written down. I like a piece of paper where I can make some notes, where I can check things off, all kinds of good stuff. So I put together this list with a few more important details for you, and it is available to my Acton Creative Insiders. Just join the membership, come on over and download your copy. It'll be something that you can have in a file for a rainy day, or you can have near your loom just in case you're in between projects. However, it will help you. But for all the Acton Creative Insiders, they will get a copy of this list of the One-Shuttle Weaving Pattern list. Fun, right? So, you know, this is wonderful because we have more to look forward to. In the very next episode, I'm going to give you my list of Two-Shuttle Weaving Patterns. But just like this list, we'll go from easiest to a little more challenging. You'll be surprised. Some of them really easy. They just need 2 shuttles. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week. Happy weaving. Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acton Creative, and this is a Handwoven Experience. And in today's episode, I'm bringing you part 2 in our 2-part series all about weaving patterns, but specifically, how many shuttles do you need? In the previous episode, I tackled a whole list of 1-shuttle weaving patterns. And today, well, you guessed it, I'm bringing you 2-shuttle weaving patterns. Because when you're first starting out, there's just too many options, right? Who's with me? I remember being a beginner and being completely overwhelmed and having no idea what to do next. So I've created these lists for you so that you have a little more guidance, right? It narrows it down just a touch so that you can have some things already decided for you. So in today's list of 2-shuttle weaving patterns, I'm going to start with the easy ones and work to the ones that just require a few more skills. Just they require that you pay a little more attention. But let's start off nice and easy with log cabin. Now, log cabin is brilliant because it is just plain weave, my friends. That's all it is. However, you need 2 shuttles to do it, because you have to place the colors in such a way to create those great blocks, the log cabin effect, right? Whether it's a little vertical block or a little horizontal block, yeah. You do that with 2 shuttles, the same yarn, just in 2 different colors. Easy peasy. It's a great way to start. It's just a really fun pattern to ease you in to working with 2 shuttles. Next up is twill. Now, you'll remember that twill made the list in the previous episode with the 1-shuttle weaving patterns, but twill is a huge category and there are certain variations of twill that require 2 shuttles. And you need 2 shuttles for color reasons, because to create a certain effect, you need varying colors. You need 2 contrasting colors to create the look that you're after. Specifically in houndstooth and in pinwheels. Those are the ones that I really love. There's lots of others, but those are the ones that I would recommend if you want to play with twill and 2 shuttles, houndstooth and pinwheels. That's the way to go. Next up is rep weave. Now, I find that while a category like twill is huge, there's lots of options, rep weave is its own category. It is a really unique and very fun weaving pattern to create. At the core of it, it is just plain weave, but you mash all of the warp yarns really close together, so that's all you see are the warp yarns. And then with your 2 shuttles, you use 1 really tiny shuttle and 1 really chunky shuttle to create these ridges in the fabric. It's really fun and a very different way to construct fabric. If you ever get a chance, please try some rep weave. I think you'll love it. Next on our list, I have kind of a trio, starting with monk's belt. Monk's belt is a very old pattern and it calls for 2 shuttles because you'll have 1 shuttle in the background as a tabby that's holding it all together. Then you'll have another one as the pattern, which is going to be a thicker weft. but it's the glamour girl. It's the one that's kind of skirting everywhere and making it an interesting piece of fabric. So monk's belt is a great place to start. But after that, I love some summer and winter. It's a very similar idea using two shuttles. One in the background and one for the pattern, which is awesome. By the way, those two shuttles can be the same color. They just have to be different sizes. That is the key thing to remember there. And lastly, in this kind of progression is overshot. Ooh, oh, overshot. It's lovely, isn't it? When I think of traditional overshot, I think of historic coverlets in like a navy and a cream, right? But overshot is so much more than that. There's so much you can do with it. But as we're making our way down the list, for something like overshot, you could have a fairly complicated threading to pay attention to, as well as treadling. So we're starting to ease down into patterns that just require a few more skills and a few more techniques. You can do it, but here's how we're progressing through the list. So after overshot is good old shadow weave. Now, shadow weave is probably the newest of all the patterns on the list, but it's a really interesting pattern. Imagine if you took a twill and you intentionally made a little shadow to each of the components of the pattern. That's what shadow weave is. I've also seen shadow weave patterns where they start with an overshot pattern and they make a little shadow to it. It's very, very cool. And like the others, you're gonna need two shuttles to accomplish your shadow weave, just to give that shadowy effect. Definitely give that a try. And lastly on my list is honeycomb. Now, honeycomb is kind of its own category, isn't it? It's a really interesting pattern because, you know, we only deal in straight lines. Our warp yarns are straight, our weft yarns are straight, but at the end of the day, honeycomb has curves everywhere. It's so, so cool. But to get that effect, you need two shuttles. You need a background shuttle and you need a pattern shuttle. And those are going to be different sizes and they have very different functions to create that cool honeycomb effect. It's a lot of fun. So that is my list of two shuttle weaving patterns. What did I forget? I know there's some out there that I have left off the list. So rack your brain and let me know. Let me know in the comments, what are some of your favorite two shuttle weaving patterns? Because there's so many, right? This was just my short little list of 8 of them. Now, if you're like me and you like to have things written down, like a nice little piece of paper to keep track, check things off, slice through it, whatever you need to do. If you like some kind of actual physical piece of paper to help you keep track, I've got just the thing. I actually took our two shuttle weaving pattern list and I wrote it down for the Acton Creative Insiders. It's this cute little download that you can print, put in a file, have it next to your loom, whatever makes the most sense and will help you in your weaving journey. But if you're not already Acton Creative Insider, no problem. Come over and join us in the membership and you can download a copy of both this list and the one from the previous episode. Hopefully that'll be really, really helpful for you. Okay, I hope that gave you some direction if you're a newbie, and if you've been weaving for a while but you haven't heard of all of these, maybe it give you a little tingly feeling. You're like, ooh, I'm onto something. I want to try this pattern, because there's always more patterns to explore. That's for sure. Have a great week, my friends. Happy weaving.